Making its first appearance in Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, the planet Coruscant has served as the capital of the Galactic Republic and the seat of power for both the Galactic Senate and the Jedi Order for over a millennium, as it had for the numerous galaxy-spanning democratic republics and totalitarian empires that came before. Being the cradle of civilization for the Star Wars galaxy, many of the planet's properties serve as the galactic standard by which other planets are measured, defining the length of the standard day and year as well as the standard gravitational acceleration. The planet boasts a global cityscape, or ecumenopolis, which at its deepest is reported to span 6 kilometers deep and contain 5,127 separate layers, with the uppermost layer possessing towering skyscrapers that stand 6 kilometers high and pierce the planet's troposphere. It is home to well over 1 trillion inhabitants, hailing from virtually every inhabited planet in the galaxy. Beneath its covering of concrete and metal, the planet is a dry terrestrial, 96% the size of Earth, and possesses a mass of 0.92 Earth masses, which gives it a surface gravity of precisely 1 g and a mean density of 5.74 grams per cubic centimeter, implying that its interior possesses only a slightly higher metal content than Earth. Though the planet currently has no appreciable surface water, it is widely believed that it once possessed oceans, but these have long since been harvested, filtered, and diverted into vast artificial aquifers to meet the requirements of its enormous population and widespread industrial facilities. As a result of its oceanic depletion, tectonic activity within the planet's crust is assumed to be low, and most, if not all of its volcanic vents have been capped and covered over, with their heat being used for geothermal power generation. Likewise, the planet does not possess any vegetation beyond that contained within indoor arboretums and botanical gardens, with its oxygen production and CO2 balance completely managed through technological means. Like Earth, Coruscant has a synodic rotation period of 24 hours and orbits its star in a period of 365 days. However, its orbit averages 53% farther away, a distance comparable to that of the planet Mars. And like Mars, Coruscant has a high orbital eccentricity, varying annually in its distance from its star by 44 million kilometers. For comparison, Earth's distance varies by only 5 million kilometers. This implies that, like in the case of Mars, there exists a very massive planet orbiting exterior to Coruscant that gravitationally perturbs its orbit and keeps it elliptical. This is supported by an extra-canonical source which defines the planet as being a gas giant named Muscave. According to these same sources, Coruscant is the 6th planet of 11 in the system, which contains 2 gas giants and 9 terrestrial worlds. Official Star Wars canon states that the system's star, Coruscant Prime, is a small star, insinuating that it may be a red dwarf or low-mass orange dwarf. However, this is not consistent with what is seen in the films. Some extra-canonical sources instead state it to be a large spectral type B blue star. Keplerian calculations of Coruscant's orbit support the extra-canonical sources and estimate the star to be a spectral type B7.5 main sequence blue star of 3.59 solar masses. This would give it an estimated luminosity nearly 123 times that of the Sun and subject Coruscant to a stellar irradiance that varies annually between 11 and 16 times that which Earth receives. This would likely be too much for the planet's climate control system to handle and would require some kind of sun shield to reside in its L1 Lagrange point in order to prevent its atmosphere from being burned off. Additionally, this would mark the Coruscant system as being very young by astronomical standards, since B-type stars have lifespans that do not exceed 100 million years. Coruscant is said to possess 4 moons, creatively named Syntax 1, Syntax 2, Syntax 3, and can you guess the name of the 4th moon? That's right, it's Hesperidium. Syntax 1 is referred to as being the primary moon of Coruscant, suggesting that it may be the largest or most massive moon of the planet, though no data exist to confirm this. All that is known about this moon is that it has a synodic orbital period of 30 days, which defines the galactic standard month. This gives it a sidereal orbital period of 27.72 days and a mean orbital distance of 1.25 lunar distances. This distance is a bit problematic, though, as it likely would not have had enough time to tidally regress this far from the planet given the young age of the system. The second moon, Syntax 2, is said to be a sterile, rocky world, suggesting that, like our own moon, it does not possess an atmosphere. Syntax 3, on the other hand, is reported to possess not only a breathable atmosphere, but a global ocean dotted with rocky islands. Unfortunately, this is impossible, as the moon of an Earth-sized planet is not going to possess sufficient surface gravity to hold on to a temperate atmosphere with enough pressure for liquid water to cover its surface. Virtually nothing is known about the moon Hesperidium, besides the fact that numerous resorts for the rich and powerful reside there. So how realistic is the planet Coruscant? Coruscant's mass and mean density are both well within the realistic range of a terrestrial planet, so +1 point. Coruscant has a surprising amount of orbital data present in its official canon. Very few science fiction planets possess periapsis and apoapsis values for their orbit. If the calculated mass of the system star is accurate, then this orbital data is likewise accurate. +1 point. It's difficult to comment on the climatic realism of a planet like Coruscant, as here most of the natural processes that would control the planet's climate are instead handled by technology that is ostensibly far in advance of our own. However, I will say this. One of the greatest challenges in maintaining an ecomonopolis would be heat management. Across the planet, there are billions of machines supporting the city's infrastructure and serving its population. Trillions of lights illuminating everything from the tallest tower to the deepest levels of the undercity, as well as millions of droids and 1 trillion life forms, all producing heat. This heat is ultimately transferred to the planet's atmosphere, causing its temperature to increase until its infrared emissions balance the energy being put in. Whether this would result in Coruscant's atmosphere being uncontrollably hot or completely uninhabitable is difficult to determine given the lack of atmospheric information. 0 points. It is not realistic for Coruscant to have 4 spherical moons. Terrestrial planets lack the mass necessary to form multiple spherical moons in the same way that large gaseous planets do, and are only able to acquire spherical moons through collision events. But once a moon has formed in this way, its presence prevents subsequent moons from forming, thus limiting terrestrial planets to a maximum of 1 spherical moon. Even if we assume that Coruscant's moons were artificially moved into orbit by one of the many advanced galactic civilizations that have called the planet home, several of them are said to possess breathable atmospheres, which is impossible given their necessarily low masses. So there's no escaping it. -1 point. The only information given for Coruscant Prime is the claim that it is a small star. On its own, this isn't saying much, but Kepler's third law of planetary motion relates a planet's period and orbital distance to its star's mass. So by giving values to Coruscant's orbital period and distance, the creators of Coruscant have unknowingly defined the mass of the star. And being over 3.5 times more massive than our own sun, it is anything but small. Such a massive and luminous star would have its habitable zone out beyond 10 astronomical units, placing Coruscant deep inside the searing hot inner region of the system. Whereas this might be manageable to a technologically advanced galactic empire, Coruscant definitely would not have started off at all habitable, which to me calls into question why it was chosen as the galaxy's capital planet in the first place. With its star's high luminosity, short lifespan, and its impending death as a core collapse supernova, it's clear that Coruscant Prime is not a good star to place 1 trillion people around. -1 point. With a total of 0 points, the planet Coruscant from Star Wars receives an E grade. This is a disappointingly common score for science fiction planets, but a rather good score for one coming from Star Wars. Thank you for joining me on this planetary analysis. From here, I have hyperspace coordinates set for yet another distant alien world, and I hope you will join me there. Until then, may the Force be with you.